I've noticed that Muslim women do a lot of complaining about the way men treat them.
All right, you guys, can we talk about this really bizarre idea that Muslim wives, Muslim women are supposed to be robots? Like, where did that come from? I need someone to break this down for me. Where did it come from that to be a good Muslim wife, I have to be robotic, barely have any personality? And this is the definition of modesty. If we're defining ourselves simply by our husbands or our children or what society says we are, who will we be when it's all gone? So this idea that you're supposed to relinquish all and be completely a shell of a person in order to be a modest Muslim woman, that gotta go. We gotta dead that, okay?
Their grievances always seem so nonsensical to me because every single thing she whined about in that clip is baseless when juxtaposed with the prescribed treatment for women in Islam. She broods over the fact that there is an expectation for her to be nothing outside of a wife and mother. Well, duh. That's what your role is in this faith, your only role. You're simply here to be a quiet, obedient little covered lollipop and to birth the next set of Allah's slaves. Now, the part that really irked me in her video was when she lamented that in order to be a good and modest Muslim woman, you must be a shell of a person. And to that, I would say she's absolutely right. How many times have women been admonished in verses and hadiths? I'd be here night and day naming them all. So, for the sake of time, let's narrow it down to just a few of the most asinine ones, shall we? So let's see. You can't wear perfume because that would count as you fornicating and luring the degenerate men that you worship into committing adultery. You can't speak too loud. You can't be heard singing or using your voice in an alluring way.
The voice of woman is part of her hijab. It needs to be protected. Yes, the voice of woman can be seductive. When she speaks, she should speak in a way that is not seductive.
You can't express yourself through clothing at all. Sidebar, when I used to cover, I wanted to make that oppressive, overbearing, hot-ass rag on my head look somewhat appealing in an attempt to grasp a shred of self-sovereignty. So I would arrange it in a similar fashion to the woman in this photo, but even that is a sin, as the Prophet said that the woman who does this is cursed. So you see, there is no room for personality, autonomy, or self-expression whatsoever, which is absurd because as humans, we like to present and show up in society in certain ways. Your signature fragrance, your way of dress, these things are integral to most people. They are small but fun and charming ways to relate to others, to share your interests, to be an individual. But you see, these luxuries are afforded to men, not to you, because you are not an individual, not an equal. When you do it, you're a whore and you're immodest. Just look at some of the comments on this girl's video. I mean, it's obvious she doesn't want to wear a black sheet 24/7, running around looking like some great value dementor from Harry Potter.
Expecto Patronum!
So she dresses it up, plays around with her femininity, because when there are no oppressive mullahs and musty-bearded overlords looming around, policing your every move, it is actually quite nice to be a woman, to tap into your beauty and femininity. But of course, she gets demonized like the devil Muhammad said she is. But seriously, with hadiths like the aforementioned, how can you complain about being seen as an empty shell and blank slate? I mean, that is exactly what your God-ordained role is in this faith. You're disposable. And I don't just mean here on earth, but also in the paradise that you're so desperately seeking, because according to this hadith, your husband is nothing more than a temporary guest. His heavenly wife awaits, and he's looking forward to parting from you to be with her. In short, you do not matter, and you're a lesser being that is worth half of a man. And yes, Muslim men do expect you to be an empty shell, void of wants or needs or free expression, and why shouldn't they? Allah sure does. I wish y'all would wake up, honestly. It's exhausting to witness all these mental gymnastics you do to justify these asinine beliefs. You whine and complain over and over, but you never stop and examine the reason behind your discontent. When you strip it down, the problem begins and ends with the doctrine, with the male deity that you worship and live for. You know, I must say, I despise moronic women like Shaharazaad Ali, who has advised men to slap so called disorderly women in the face and believes that women have smaller brains than men, but at least she's self aware. She knows that as far as her religion goes, she's viewed as nothing more than a mammy, mule, and mattress for men. She's a pick me who's committed to perpetuating their degeneracy. You'll hear no complaints from her about fair treatment, and if you truly want to be content in this faith as a woman, then look no further than her as the prime exemplar for how Allah expects you to behave. And if that doesn't sit right with you, then you have work to do and texts to examine. Because the ideal Muslim woman is a pick me. Actually, most Muslim women are pick me's, to be honest. I know I was. But it took someone pointing out the flawed logic and misogyny in this faith to me in an abrasive manner, might I add, for me to finally see the light and leave. I like to keep my videos short, so I'm going to say one last thing. Take a look at the nations of the world. Have you noticed the countries that deeply oppress women are impoverished and underdeveloped? Because I have. As it currently stands, I would not want to be a woman in any place other than the West. Your prophet said that a people who make a woman their ruler will never succeed. Yet countless developed nations have had female presidents and prime ministers and are thriving. Unlike certain Sharia-ruled countries, it seems the holy, perfect prophet was wrong about this, and I beg you to ask yourselves, what else was he wrong about? Well, guys, that's all for today. Until next time.